Val Anaya here. Good morning, Val. Welcome to the studio.
So yeah, our mayor is in Vegas, I believe, and I know that I've been seeing you post on some of your travels, meeting some family, taking pictures in different places that you've had family ties. Ravi, I know you've been in Socorro, got close to 40 years, I believe, but
50 now.
really?
Yeah, 75.
So you were
Uh,
in Oklahoma, correct? With some grandkids here recently. Talk about your
no, no.
family,
I mean, I have grandkids in Arkansas,
Arkansas.
and Helga, the youngest, who got a soccer scholarship at University of Arkansas, and she stayed in Fayetteville. She has three kids, and then we have three kids in Albuquerque. That's where we go all the time. We have about nine grandkids there. That's Kadar, Helen, and Christina. And so Kadar is a lawyer there, personal injury,
Uh,
and Christina is a social worker at the UNM emergency room, and Helen is a special ed teacher. And then, of course, Jeff is out in California with one son. So that's where we've been traveling. But today I'm at the Waste Expo doing my mayoral duty, trying to get a rear end garbage truck for commercial.
so so
280,000.
so did those go up with inflation and everything go up compared to the last time you
No,
bought some of those trucks?
no, Val. No, it's up 20%, and it's out at least 6 months to a year before we can even acquire it.
So
So we have also been given a grant from Volkswagen when they cheated on their catalytic converter, and we're trying to get some natural gas trucks also that should be coming. We should be knowing about that pretty soon because those will be free. That's from a settlement from Volkswagen, but they're natural gas
that's
trucks.
cool. Well, just full disclosure, I know I've known Ravi, man, most of the time he's been here. He was good friends with my dad. His granddaughter, Helen's daughter, Antoinette, was actually the flower girl in our wedding back 20
Yeah.
years ago now,
Wow.
2002, 20 years ago. So she's got to
Wow.
be what, like 26 now? I, I,
Yeah.
I think, I think
No, not 26. She's like 22.
22.
Huh? No, I think she's 23.
Ah, okay. And, and,
I,
and does she
I
have any
can't keep their
kids?
birthday. Like we have 5 kids and 13 grandkids,
Wow. So,
and it's like I'm sorry, but I can't keep track. It's hard.
so
It's
then,
very
Mayor,
hard.
tell me a little bit about your run as mayor so far. What do you what
Well,
hurdles?
it's a long run. It's 32 years, and just going to go back to your dad, Tiny. We actually ran a campaign against Don Tripp in 2003, and so this is kind of a reboot from the 2003. But I've been mayor since 1990,
Uh,
uh, and had ups and downs, and everybody who now has a gripe against me can write a letter to the editor because I'm running for another office. But it's been great. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I like public service. I come to City Hall every day that I'm in Socorro, and have done that for 32 years, and have had different police chiefs, different fire chiefs, different city administrators, and our the employees, 150, and we've done new programs, and I've Val, I've enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it's been one of my, when they put it on my tombstone, I guess it'll be family, it'll be my medical profession, and it'll be mayor, I guess.
yeah, going back 2003, that's when my dad passed away. I think you had just announced
Oh my
that
God.
you were running for mayor,
Uh,
and I remember
uh,
coming down and helping you. Man, I must have put up 108-foot
oh
signs
my God.
all over the county. Yeah, so
Uh,
there is a lot of history there. Now,
uh,
recently we're getting a lot of concern and talk and anxiety about a couple of things. I think first and foremost is like the whole broadband issue. That's been going on now for a couple of years. Why are some cities and counties so far ahead of Socorro? And where are we in that regard, Mayor, right now?
I can only speak for the city, but TDS is going to break ground here in June or July with a contractor to put a backbone, a fiber backbone in the city of Socorro. They've already committed to that. They've made an engineering report. They did a request for proposals for contractors, and they'll be getting a contractor on board by June. So we will have, by the end of the year, we will have a fiber backbone that everybody can tap into. The county is still working on because they're so huge and far and wide. They're working on trying to get a wireless, perhaps, and because it's going to be difficult. And then you've got the co-op now just jumped in, and because there's a ton of money around, and so they may be able to get broadband also on their poles, but they're going to have to change the poles out. So there's three-prong effort right now in the city and the county. The city is a little bit ahead of that because we're more compact. The county's going to Mike Hawks and Joseph Herrera. They're really working hard on trying to get broadband out to the county.
So, do you think, as representative, then, what would your role be in connecting those exact three entities that you just spoke about?
There's a ton of money out there, but there's about 10 times more requests. So my emphasis will be on trying to get the rural areas to come up to speed, and come up to speed means, hey, at least give me 20 up and down. Don't give me 1.5 up and down. And the highway department has also made it a mandate to put you can put broadband in the city and the county, but then you still got to get it out to a switch in Albuquerque or somewhere else, or El Paso. And so you need a hardwire conduit going up that way. And the highway department is going to start working on that too. My role would be to make sure that Do It, which is the company or the state agency that spreads the money and does the requirements for state grants and federal grants, are focusing on this district. This district, Val, goes from the city of Socorro to the corner of Las Cruces, to the corner of northeast Las Cruces. So it's a huge district, but it's mostly rural. Elephant Butte, Tier C, Hatch, Radium Springs, Garfield, Salem. Those are tiny towns, and they have no internet. And so that would be my role as a representative, to try to make sure that they focus on rural areas.
So another issue then, talking about rural communities is stuff like medicine, how to bring and I think broadband would help in that, to do telemedical conferences and stuff like that. But just in general, healthcare in the rural areas is so much different, even than like here in Socorro compared to Reserve, compared to Albuquerque. There's such a disconnect.
I'll tell you my history. I used to go to Reserve in 1975 to that clinic. I went there twice a week. That was the rural health clinic in those days. Then Presbyterian Medical Services, not Presbyterian Hospital Services, but Presbyterian Medical Services took over the rural health clinics, and they kind of stabilized them. But the problem is we can't get providers. I mean, I've had about 10, 12 doctors that I've recruited that have left. Presbyterian Hospital Group does a great job. But it's kind of a revolving door. They spend 2-3 years here, and then they're gone. PMS has problems with getting providers at the medical doctor level. They have nurse practitioners that are very good, but we have the facilities now, but we just don't have the providers. And in my opinion, and I'm going to get into a different subject, is college debt and medical school debt. In my opinion, and that's one of the things I'll take to the legislature, is that if you're going to forgive college debt, or if you're going to forgive medical debt, they have to serve. They can't just get it forgiven. I think they should come out and serve in the rural areas. Tier C Hospital is really doing very, very well. It's managed by a company called Quorum, and they're doing very well. And we're trying to work with them, not just medical services, but behavioral health services. Those are really lacking. The old Socorro Mental Health has been taken over by PMS. Dr. Courtney is doing a fantastic job, but he's worn out. So we need mental health, and I think broadband would help a lot in that. I think those kinds of interviews and sessions could be taken on with good, secure broadband. So you're right. I mean, broadband is the basics of a lot of things.
Right. Can I ask a question about Mr.
Yeah,
Bhasker on the broadband? You said that TDS is putting a backbone in. Is that backbone connecting us to Albuquerque, or where is that backbone connecting to?
It'll have a redundancy. It'll have a redundancy to it'll go to Albuquerque. There's a switch up there at the university. I think that Lambda Rail goes to, and then there's be a redundancy to the El Paso area. Now Western Telephone comes in too, but they'll have to make some agreements with Western Telephone and AT&T to hook into that.
Okay, thank you.
And it's interesting.
But you have to have. You know, I know it's near and dear to your heart, and I think you know the redundancy is going to be important because if you go down one place, you got to have backup.
Well, yeah, the redundancy is critical, and as we said with the three-pronged people, you know, fiber optic has such capacity that all three could be on one fiber in two different routes.
Yeah.
In redundancy, and that's really the issue there. And as we said with mental health and things, ambulance, telemedicine for ambulance, it has so much value to our community. So I'm excited about hearing what's happening. But I know, like you says, 100 megabits and 25 megabits down is the new standard that people are going for. We know that a Colorado firm.
You got to have it.
Yeah, the Colorado firm is currently doing the study for $100,000 here in Socorro for Socorro Electric Cooperative, Socorro and Catron counties. So it is something very near dear to my heart. I've worked in it for some time. So thank you for that information. I'll turn it back over to Val. Thank you.
No, but just to finish up, Reese, my only concern is that if you split the pie too many ways, nobody's going to succeed because they're going to go broke.
Agreed.
So something's got to be made sure. You know, TDS is going to go up to a gig. I mean, you know, and whatever, but the fiber, but out in the county is so difficult it's so expensive to string that fiber that you've got people that are looking at Wi-Fi, and I think ComNet is another person that the county's been talking to, and Western, and trying to get an ISP that would be interested in this and still think they can make money is going to be difficult.
Well, I think the big thing to realize is if the counties, both Catron and Socorro County, get into this and we understand that public safety radio systems, ambulance systems can all be connected over optical fiber, that the optical right-of-ways that are currently in existence for utilities and for Western New Mexico are already there. There is fiber there. But again, when you consider the fact that a single strand of fiber can hold 4,400 gigabit per second channels, and in most metropolitan areas, the minimum commercial entrance is 10 gigabits. That 1 gigabits really, when you look at what optical fiber can do, can far out exceed what wireless can do reliably and continuing. Plus, if we add it underneath our trail systems, it becomes transparent to our environment, unlike towers and things of that nature. So when you look at the Dene and the Alamo, the sacred grounds for the Indians are always the mountains, which are the best places for the radio towers. So that doesn't always quite work. So having been an optical fiber designer, I can tell you optical is the way to go. And the routes are there. The right-of-ways and the public right-of-ways
it's going to be underground. It's not going to be strung on in the city anyway. It's going to be underground.
Yeah, exactly. Burlington, Vermont has over 96 count fiber rings within their city in Burlington, Vermont. So it can be done.
So as we talk about,
I mean, and I'm just saying my engineers, they have to burn it and take it to Albuquerque to be able to send it. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah,
just crazy.
Yep, and new technology, that's the way it is. We're trying to build it as we go. And I think the most evident part, and this conversation comes up in almost every interview I do about broadband, but just for us to conduct these interviews, we can see right now that the mayor has a little bit delayed because we're using Wi-Fi to connect him, so we could definitely use that. Well, but as we talk about broadband, and I'm going to move on a little bit.
Let me add just one other thing. The New Mexico Fiber Network is also in play here. So everybody's working on it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, and I think eventually it'll get here. We just want to make sure that it gets here the same time it gets to all the other places. So
it's already in the other places. We're kind of the tail of the dog, believe me, the last 10 years we've been fighting AT&T and that national map that they put up saying that we had the service. We've been fighting that for 5 years, Reese. You
Yeah.
know that. I mean, they've been telling us we've got 25 up and down. We don't have it. And the money that comes looks at that map to deliver us that money. That's how they. So we've been having to fight uphill with that.
Right.
Yeah. So the mayor touched on something a little bit earlier about the medical and the college debt. He also mentioned education, and I've been watching both me and the mayor have a lot of interesting comments in what's posted concerning education in Socorro, and again talking about the tail of the dog in Socorro. We've been the tail of the dog in education now for. I've got a daughter graduating this year. I got a son that's been in special ed for 11 years, and he's been neglected basically by the Socorro School District. So, and I mean, not everybody, just in his education. And the mayor mentioned that there's a big turnover there as well in both teachers and aides in administration. How can a representative help in that area, Mayor?
I got to hand it to you and Tara for doing the special ed and autism and trying to get that into Socorro. I really haven't had much to do with that, but as representative, I expect the administration and the school board to step up and put as priority the people that are the most needy. And when I say priority, I'm not talking about lip service. I'm talking about money. And I think that's when the teachers all got a raise. That's great. Everybody got a $15 minimum. But the bottom line is, you have to focus in on special ed. You have to focus in on vocational training. You have to focus in on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And in my opinion, and believe me, I didn't get any endorsements because I tend to speak out sometimes. In my opinion, there should have been goals set for the administration and the teachers that accompanied these raises. And so in order to, get these services, it's all about the money and all about allocating classrooms and equipment and teachers who are educated in that field. And so I think they should have drilled down a little bit more than just giving blanket raises. So I didn't get the teacher's endorsement. But I'm just saying that's where I think it should have been. And I think administration needs to be the one that drives the wagon on this. And the legislature is the one who, I'm not going to get put on the finance stuff, but that's where my influence would be to try to get. It's all about the budget. It's all about the budget.
Well,
and I know special ed was cut. I know it was cut.
Well, I think I know special ed was cut, but in Socorro, I don't see a lot of that budget getting put into special ed. And I'll give you my example is that when Gogo was in third grade, we took him to get a specialist that does augmentative devices. Those, and he qualified for that device to help him talk, so he could type in, or point at pictures, and the computer would talk to him. And I saw a show yesterday morning on the Today Show about a college kid that graduated valedictorian that couldn't talk but had that device. Now Gogo was given access to that device in third grade, and today he still hasn't gotten that device in his hand. They gave him
Val,
one.
You have to build into the budget for each school system to get money, and all these little school systems up and down this district, have to meet that criteria for money, and it's fighting for money. So, in my opinion, the legislature should have put in a clause that you have to meet this minimum.
Well, exactly, and then the thing is that every school district reports that they have. Socorro has hundreds of kids in special ed that have an IEP. And because of that, they're giving additional funding to the school district. The problem is that it goes directly into the general fund. So
Yeah,
it gets diluted into that, and who knows what happens to it then.
you don't.
I've been fighting in the legislation now for 12 years that we need
No,
to
no, you have.
create a line item that goes to special ed and is
It's
used
all
for
about the
special ed.
line item. You have to meet that line item. But like I said, you guys know more about this than I do. But my feeling is everything is driven by a budget. Everything is driven by a line item. And the legislature, with an extra $1 billion that they put in, those things should have been taken care of.
Yep. And speaking of education, I know that you've had kids that have gone to school here and been successful, and we see that a lot of our schools, a lot of our kids are very successful in extracurricular stuff. Just this week, the ladies golf team won another state
Oh
title
yeah.
by over
Wow.
60 strokes. Okay, so they beat the team that come in second by 60 strokes. But something that occurred to me in that while I was standing there watching that is both coaches are medalists when they were in high school here in Socorro. So they stayed, they're teaching here, they're from here, and the kids excelled, I think, in for one reason because they are from Socorro. When we have this influx of people that live in Las Lunas and Belen and work here, they don't have that tie to this community to say, hey, I'm going to be a little league coach. You know that our recreation program has suffered through the years. We don't have Little League of America so that we can watch our kids play in the Little League World Series. I mean, we see those successes, but I think it could be so much more if we had more of a buy-in from both the teachers and the community to kick in. And how do we?
Well, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. I think ancillary programs, and you also have to give New Mexico Tech credit because we've got a fantastic golf course, and the city also helps sponsors, youth during the summer to play golf. But when you get people that are interested in being coaches and are involved with the community, whether it's soccer, little league, volleyball, or swim team is great. That's come along a long ways. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference in the buy-in from parents.
And I think
we started off with the old days with Steve Welch with soccer. I mean, that was 35 years ago when our kids were playing, and then passed the baton on to the other parents.
and I was looking on the Facebook. Mateka Santiana says hi to both of us, Ravi. So she's out. At least we have one listener. So what I was getting
What did she say?
What I was getting to is that what a representative does, and we could talk a little bit about this, is allocate those funds for like our soccer facilities, our baseball facilities, our schools, and our buildings, capital outlay funds that can be focused on stuff like that. Building the rodeo arena and the success we've had out there in not just rodeo, but in other capacities. I mean, those things.
But Val, thanks to Don Tripp and Howie Morales, I mean, but I got money at 400,000, 300,000, and just last 2-3 months ago, TRC got $1.7 million for their rodeo arena, and that's what I'm always, you know me, I'm always disruptive, but I mean, I want to represent this district so we can bring that money here, and I understand the special ed situation, but I've got a broader base of things that I really think this district needs, and we're just not been getting that attention. It goes to Deming and Silver City, and Diamond, our senator now, is from TRC, and she cuts into. They've cut Socorro for the Senate seat up by I think 2 or 3 ways. I mean, it's just terrible. So this district is going to have a strong representative that represents a lot of different things: education, infrastructure, employment, economic development, that kind of stuff, flood control. Those things have been neglected for a long, long time.
And hopefully in the near future we can put up how that capital outlay was distributed. I meant to bring those numbers, but I didn't get a chance to do them. And
I'll tell you how I got it memorized, but I don't know when we're going to have this money come down from heaven again. I mean, they got so much money coming down, and the way they allocated it, we just missed out. I mean, I got a total of 400,000. Socorro County has 11,000 people. They got 32 million.
Yep.
Now, admitted 20 million was for the veterans home, but they got and Silver City area they got 15 million. You know, I think Socorro got 2.2. But again, that's in the rear view mirror.
Yep.
But
Yep.
that's what I'm fighting for.
So then I think the positive thing I see in this redistricting is that eventually Socorro County will be represented by, I think, up to 5 representatives, including the senators and the representatives. So maybe with 5 voices instead of just 1 or 2, we might get more representation. So I
Yeah.
think
No, you're right. You're right.
I think we touched a little bit about most stuff's on my plate. I got about 10 minutes left. Economy, Mayor, talk to me a little bit about what you plan to do with economic development as representative.
Okay, so let me just clarify what's going on in Socorro. If you look at a map for unemployment, Socorro is one of the few counties now that has a 4% unemployment. Sierra County has 7.5% unemployment. I think we're going to have to make sure that we can try to get manufacturing, and rather than just service, not just service industry. So in my opinion, I think they should have helped with corporate tax, and they should have decreased the state income tax for personal income. I think that will help bring people to invest into our area. The other thing we have to do is we need to get the tourism to be more robust, and this outdoor cabinet secretary that the governor has appointed is going to make a big difference for us, because we have a lot of outdoor activity, and I think we need to publicize that. If you go to Trinidad, or if you go to Salida, or if you go to Southern Colorado, they have an unbelievable amount of outdoor activity going on that I think we could have down here also. The other thing we really need to do is to get our young people not just going towards university, but doing vocational training in culinary, welding, spaceport. They need to get vocational training to try to get these jobs that are really pretty high jobs, to get the employee pool up so that we can get people coming into our community. Right now, the cannabis industry is on fire. There is not one commercial building in Socorro, and I bet you in Tier C or Hatch, that is available. They have bought up everything. So it's got its two-edged sword, but that's going to, I think, increase our economic development. Our gross receipts in Socorro are up. They never even went down in the pandemic. So, economic development is going to be tourism, trying to get manufacturing, and try to get people out into New Mexico instead of Texas and Arizona and Nevada that has no state income tax. The corporate taxes are low, and we really need to work on our tax structure to try to get people to come here that have money, that want to develop manufacturing in the state.
And just tying into that a little bit, Mayor, is our plaza. We have one of the most beautiful plazas in the state, but when you look around, the businesses don't really represent what the plaza should have. We have we have the old Capitol Bar that absolutely belongs on the plaza. We have the gift shop, but other than that, where are the restaurants? Where are the other things?
I understand the argument, but I'm not going to pick winners and losers. I'm going to do more of a broad brush. All I can say is that and we're going to renovate the plaza. We're spending about $30,000 to renovate the plaza right now. But as far as who goes where, the Loma Theater is back alive. New Mexico Tech and the city helped with that. I am going to let the businesses, if I can make the atmosphere with utilities, taxes, and we have the lowest gross receipts tax, I think, pretty close in the whole state. Everybody's over 8%. We're at 7.8. So that's the only thing I can do. I can't pick winners and losers about where they're going to go, how they're going to do business, if even the people in the city of Socorro are going to support that business rather than saying the mayor is running people out of town. You have to support those businesses. So those are the things that I don't have much control over, and I really don't want to pick winners and losers like that. I mean, that's my stand on it. That I can only tell you that.
Well, I think, like you mentioned concerning broadband, all the players have to come together. I think in the economy, a good economic development team
Director.
could benefit Socorro, and I know you've tried that before. I just like to see a more structured economic development
No,
team.
and you're right. Michael Ogeen Jr., my city councilor, has been pushing that. We've set aside money for an economic development person, and we did raise the gross receipts just specifically for that. That money is being set aside. So we're gonna. I think it's about $20,000, $30,000 a month that we set aside on our total gross receipts for that, and that's accumulating. Once the pandemic is kind of settled down, you're absolutely right. It's going to be more of a structured economic development person. And then Michael has been pushing for that for a long, long time, and I agree with that. I finally got the money to do it.
So I think we touched on most subjects, Mayor. We've had a good conversation. I have about 2 minutes left. Is there anything you want to add as what's next
No,
for Mayor
I got a little,
Basker?
I got a little barbecue going on Saturday at the Best Western. If people want to come at 1 o'clock, and this is a huge district. I've been working as hard as I can. There's a lot of issues that I think I can succeed in as being mayor. I've got a lot of contacts all the way up and down I-25. We can get together and regionalize some of the services, such as mental health and substance abuse. I mean, good luck to this is a Val. This is a Democratic district. The Democratic primary, in my opinion, is going to be the representative. So I'm working hard at it, spending a little bit of money. And I don't know if you got my flyer or my postcard the other day, but we've sent out a bunch of postcards. We're going
Sure
to
did.
send more out to let people know who I am and what I'm doing. And the number one thing is to stay positive. And as a Democrat, I mean, as a Democrat, I live that life. I'm a minority, and I've always lived that life. And I believe in all the things about affirmative action and women's rights and things like that. But there's a lot more issues going on in this district than just that. And I always appreciate what you've done for the special ed people. And so has Tara's done a great job with that too.
Well, thank you, Mayor Basker, and thank you for taking time out of your busy.
I'm,
Your
I'm
busy.
headed I'm headed home, Val. I'm not staying around here.
Well.
I haven't gambled and I haven't lost any money. I'm getting the hell out of town.
You
So-
bought a garbage truck.
Be careful driving the garbage truck back home. Well,
No,
I guess today on Rio Grande Valley Radio has been Mayor Basker, currently running for a new state representative. We want to thank him for
Hey.
talking to us. Thank you, Ravi.
No, good luck to you guys. Thanks for doing all this.
Thank you, Ravi, for joining us. This has been Vocal with Val. Stay tuned. Val and I are going to continue after this, just after we say goodbye to the mayor. Safe travels back to the city of Socorro.
Bye bye. What do you think of that?
All right. Well, we're back here, and let's let this run here. All right. Well, good. Let's get a switch over here. All right. Now we got both of us in this one.
Did we have any more comments on the?
Let's check out our comments here. Let's see. Trying to get this right.
And I do want
Nope,
to.
I broke it. There it is. I'm going to go back to you.
I do want to invite everybody as you listen, and if you want to send us a comment or a question, we're new to this, so we try to keep tabs on the comments coming in. Reese is doing a good job upgrading all our equipment to make sure that we can see those comments as we go. It works very good when we have the guest in the studio with us. It's a lot better, but we talk about connectivity. This is the prime example, I think, for us, is just trying to do a Zoom and put it on social media. I can imagine all the problems that kids trying to learn at home are having.
Right.
So we continue to talk about that issue. We continue to talk about our economy. I didn't get a chance to talk to Ravi about the COVID situation that continues to be a concern in our community. So, I'm sure we can have him back on either as our representative candidate or as mayor, and the doctor, we can talk to him about that.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have them. Like I says, yeah, the broadband issue is a big thing, especially when we talked about education and people. Again, the issue with the with the population, rural population, the populations are usually not large enough to support the kind of salaries that doctors and high-end professionals need to live and reside in that area. There's just not enough people to make that work. And broadband, and we see with telemedicine, telemedicine as far as mental health, as far as doctor's visits, that includes VA and veterans being able to meet with their doctors. Broadband has a real way of being able to connect people to their medical and bring high-end medical professionals things here into the schools for our kids, for our adults. And so broadband keeps coming up because it's very crucial to our society today, and especially in rural communities, the way to get more high-end services here without relocating people. We've seen universities up in Canada interested in doing work remotely out in Catron County, but they required broadband, and they require local providers to make that broadband accessible. And I think that we've got a large challenge on our hands with that. And again, trying to get everybody together so those engineering costs are divided amongst a large pool of people than a smaller pool of people. But the broadband, like it says, from medicine to the goods and services, and to being able to work remotely here. We had actually one client one individual in Mountain Air that actually made the Associated Press working out in Mountain Air remote in her marketing division. And we can have some really good high-paying jobs here locally when we can have the broadband to support people working at home. And what we saw with Ravi is that, and we saw the same thing when we did an interview with Clint Bradley in the UK, when you have the video and the audio going, audio is going to suffer.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And I think you talked about it just now, is that in the rural areas, it's not economically feasible.
Right.
Okay. But when we think about it as infrastructure,
right,
roads, highways, electricity, when we think about broadband as just part of the infrastructure of America, then we don't think about it as being profitable. It's just a necessity that we have to get to our rural people. And I think if we take that mindset, then things might move a little quicker, that we're not trying to say, well, we won't make any profit there, so we're not going there.
And there's two things. And there's the reasons why major fiber hubs miss rural areas. Number one, is the profit, the demographics, the number of people. And the second is having the technical staff, the engineers and technicians available to maintain those systems. Those are two big key reasons that it misses it. But the other important thing you said with profit, it's really important, and we stressed this with the land manager when we had the interview with her. When we look at Western New Mexico Telecom actually has a public right-of-ways. I mean, we give Western New Mexico to have public right-of-ways over public lands to connect their network. So they're providing us service over public lands, and we give them those right-of-ways to charge us money for telephone service. We also, when we have utilities, electric utilities, transmission and distribution, transmission being tri-state generation that services Socorro Electric Cooperative and Socorro Electric Cooperative, PNM as well, we give all those utilities public right-of-ways to connect their services.
Sure.
So those are some of the background. Now, when we get out of thinking of telecom as profit and we think about it as service, even when listening to Michael Hawks and people talk about broadband in New Mexico, most of us are talking about getting it to the home. Great. We all need to get better broadband to the home. But we also need to think about the businesses that can use broadband locally. The fact that we can, there's a good article, somebody just recognized that, there's a local area network where we could connect all of our business in Socorro over a local broadband network, and I could be in at Socorro Rodeo Ground from a kiosk in a connected network. So there's a whole lot of different ways to use broadband that people aren't thinking of, because the leaders are thinking about it like consumers. Even when we consider, like I said, I keep stressing ambulances needing high-speed broadband to the back of an ambulance. So when you have an ambulance ride over 15 minutes, that you can actually connect to the doctor through broadband, video, your telemetry, what your heart rate, what your pressure is. You can connect this immediately over to a doctor who can advise EMTs in the back of the ambulance of what to do before you get there. That was recognized in 2014 as now that's not consumer broadband. That's not getting broadband to the home. That's getting broadband to the ambulance. When you look at public safety radio systems like Socorro, City of Socorro's radio system, Socorro County's radio system for sheriffs, those things can all be connected by broadband. They can allow data services out to the officers on the field to quicker do record searches, look up background, know when they're dealing with somebody who may be dangerous, and get access to much quicker information. Those things all benefit by an internet IP broadband backbone. That's not consumer. That goes beyond it. And when we start seeing, like you said, when we get out of the profit, when we realize, like other states have realized, that broadband and optical fiber connects these organizations as well as our scientific instruments like the NRAO, then we start seeing broadband becoming a community resource of everyone involved, including the government. It's not just about getting broadband to the home and to our kids. It's about connecting our government agencies. It's about connecting people in the field to services. It's about connecting more high quality professionals into a rural area. Like I said, the broadband project that I worked on in Pie Town, New Mexico, was a broadband connectivity issue from a university, I think it was Ottawa University in Canada, who wanted to do astronomy under the dark skies of Pie Town, and they could do it over broadband. There's actually been supernovas discovered by amateurs out of Pie Town operating their telescopes from Ohio. Okay. Wow. Okay. And if we take that broadband, we can take that broadband of that astronomy observatory in Pie Town, and the kids of New York could actually see the night skies of New Mexico over broadband. It can become an educational resource as well. So the thing is to try to get out of thinking of broadband as how am I going to get my web service at home, but thinking about all the things that broadband opens up beyond profit to where we have a community asset. Because, for instance, as I said in the beginning, we have public right-of-ways that are used to connect our electricity to our homes. Now, for instance, Tri-State Generation has a transmission line that runs from here in Socorro all the way up to Albuquerque. Now, in Colorado, when I did the EagleNet project, we connected some of the hard-to-reach rural communities over those transmission lines, that optical, what they call optical ground wire. And it is a way to connect, like what Ravi said, it's not necessarily a switch, it's back to a router that connects, and it's a public right of way. There's those same transmission lines out in Catron County, but our leadership isn't very aware of it, and so we don't have access to it. Other states have done it. Vermont's done it. Vermont is one of the people now offering the affordable internet to their community, because I have the map of their network here at home because I worked on it. But I'm getting a little long in the tooth. But the key thing is yes, you're correct. It's not about profit. We have to recognize our weaknesses. We've got a demographic, but if we think about it as profit, our demographic doesn't suit it. And if we're going to raise those STEM jobs and do that, we have to create local opportunities here to do that, because people are going to need to make a living, and there is a living to be made taking care of those systems. I manage 7 radio sites out in Catron County that are all disconnected and a mess. And they could have all benefited by a broadband network.
Sure, and when we consider, like I said before, thinking about it as infrastructure, we have, like the New Mexico State Highway Department.
Right.
We do not have a New Mexico State Internet or Broadband Department, which would benefit in connecting all the ideas, connecting in the thought process you were just mentioning.
Right.
You know?
And it's interesting, Val, because take that back a step. We do have the New Mexico Department of IT. Now, the New Mexico Department of IT does operate a broadband network in Catron and in Socorro County. You can see it up on M Mountain. You can see it out on the highways. When you know what you're looking at, you can see these things. Mm-hmm. But there's no access.
Yeah, and how many people work in that department?
God only knows. I don't know.
Well, you know, it's the whole thing, I think, is Ravi mentioned that Socorro's the tail of a dog in a very technical world.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you think about that technology, it might have all started with television. You know, you got to put an antenna that points to Albuquerque where the other antenna is, and if it's not line of sight, then you don't get very good.
It doesn't work.
You know?
Yeah.
And then we moved to satellites, and then we moved to Dish Network, you know, so, and now we have streaming, you know, so, but are we always going to be the tail of the dog? And just like the long shot in the Kentucky Derby did, how do we get from the back of the pack to the front of the pack? We're that 80-1 long shot, I think, and I think the opportunity we have in this new representative seat that we have in the New Mexico legislation, as well as the Senate seat we're going to have in 2 years, gives us more voices for Socorro County. People might think, we split us all up. Well, maybe, but we have more ears now and more voices, hopefully.
Right. And this is how you're going to get ahead. And this is how you're going to get ahead. And in 2017, I proposed the idea to Mayor Bhasker, and right now it's being done over in Arizona, which is and I did it up in Colorado with the EagleNet project up there. In Arizona right now, Arizona Public Service, they're a major electrical provider in Arizona. They're upgrading their transmission lines into rural communities like Payson, another small mountain community. In part of that, they're taking their optical ground wire, they're taking their fiber optic, and they're opening their optical fiber up to local competition and local users. And they're taking that and they're creating a building off-site. So they bring the fiber from Phoenix, let's say, up to Payson. They take that fiber off, they run it outside of the substation network where it terminated, and they give it into a facility that they don't risk their security, but they allow competitors to come in and connect to that fiber optic, which connects them back to internet in Phoenix. But they've given them a separate building, and they're not putting the equipment in. All they're giving is what was called the dark fiber for people to come in and use. Now they've made an intelligent decision that when you can get 100 gigabits per wavelength in a single bit of fiber, if you open up the fiber plant in the public right-of-ways between Phoenix and Payson, and you allow people to connect their equipment to that equipment, they can take care of distributing the internet service out to the community from that point. The same thing, like I says, the city of Socorro could put in a redundant fiber ring in Socorro that connects everybody in every house, puts the fiber in, but does not put the equipment in. But by allowing competitors to come in and put their equipment on the fiber and lease the fiber from the city has a continual revenue thing. And then if the Socorro Electric Cooperative works with the city and works with Tri-State Generation, we've only got one bulk electric line coming in from Albuquerque right now. If they put up a redundant one or a second one, we put fiber on that. They can give us the connectivity back, and we don't ask them to put the services there. Just give us the fiber. Take the fiber off your property, give us access to us, and charge us a lease on that. Now, I'll tell you another thing from working in the industry. Salt River Project in 2011, they have a fiber optic ring all around their territory, their distribution electric utility in the Phoenix area, which was originally rural farms. In 2011, when I did a consulting for them, they made $25 million a year off of leasing that fiber. The cell phone companies came in, they put their equipment on it, they used the fiber. A lot of internet providers in that area use their fiber and lease it from them. So the fact that Socorro Electric Cooperative is asking if this can be affordable, it's known that it can be affordable. But so
well, and I think in putting all that into a nutshell,
thank you.
We know that there's been a lot of work done in getting broadband to Socorro. We know that many of the pieces are already there. It's just a matter of what we connect and the decisions we make in the near future to get those things not only operational but beneficial to everybody, all the players involved. And I think the main thing is getting them to the table so that we don't just think about today. We have the foresight for 5-10 years from now.
Right, but like the mayor said, there's money on the table. And like even people like the person I went to on the Socorro thing from Colorado, taking care of what broadband is here in Socorro. They don't know it as well as we do here. And everybody says, while the money's there up front, the maintenance and the ongoing operation are important, and you're going to need local players to do that.
Yep.
So
and one of the local players that we haven't mentioned yet, but we always do, is New Mexico Tech.
Yes, amen.
The governor has appointed New Mexico Tech as cybersecurity for the state. So we know that the technology is there. We know that they're doing a lot of good work in that, and it's a matter of what do they bring to the table and hopefully we'll find out pretty soon about that.
Yeah, because like it says, the one technology company that I'm aware of, it says consumer residential here because there's other stuff, but is Integrated Data Technologies from Joe Franklin, who used to be the head of ICT at New Mexico Tech. But how many different IT organizations and technology organizations outside of NREO and New Mexico Tech are competing and doing business here?
Well,
You know?
and maybe it shouldn't be a competition, a joint effort. Could be expanded to other communities in New Mexico and elsewhere.
Exactly.
So I think we've talked about this a little bit. I do want to mention that tomorrow we have our own New Mexico Secretary of State as our guest at 9 o'clock in the morning, Maggie Toulouse Oliver. And she's going to come and talk about the voting process, the registration process. One of the things I asked her to talk about also is about becoming a candidate. The
process.
There's different processes in local races, whether it be school board, municipal, or county, versus the statewide races, and all of them have a reporting process that you have to report to the Secretary of State, or you might be charged penalties.
Yeah.
So I've asked her to talk a little bit about that. Voting has already started.
Yes, it has.
So I went to vote Tuesday. I was the number one, so I voted first in Socorro County. So I try to do that every year. As soon as the polls open, I try to be there, and I'm usually in the top five. So this year I was first. There are a little bit of changes if you're not registered to vote on how to vote to partake in this primary. So we're going to talk to her about that. My daughter registered to vote, and she voted on Monday. So that was
Tuesday.
On Tuesday. That was her first election. She turned 18 this year, and she asked me, "Dad, who do I vote for?" And I go, "Do your homework and vote for who you want." Because I'm not going to influence you. She's met a lot of the candidates. She knows them by different conferences, but locally, she knows them just by being around them. So
Socially, yeah.
Yep. So hopefully, she did her homework, and she's gonna vote by her own conscience, and that's fine with me.
And that's a good advice for all of our listeners and watchers out there, is to do your homework and vote your conscience.
And I wanna do that shout out to those seniors out there in high school that turned 18. Get it out and vote. It's a responsibility and an honor to do that. So please partake in that right we have, because of all those soldiers that have fought for the United States and given us the freedom to elect a fair individual based on the popular vote in the United States.
Exercise your right.
Yep, exercise your right. Congratulations to all you graduates, Socorro High School graduates, New Mexico Tech graduates, including Elena, my daughter.
Congratulations, Elena.
She graduates from Pecos Connections Academy. So she spent 7 years in online school, and she's going to walk the line next Friday up in Albuquerque along with, I think, 1,100 of her classmates. So
Yeah.
it's one of the largest schools in New Mexico, period. I think she did well. She's planning to go to New Mexico State and pursue an education career. So
Fantastic. You got to be proud.
I'm very proud of her. We've had our spats back and forth, just like every dad and daughter, I think, whether it be school or chores or boyfriends or anything. I think we're very regular and very normal, so I'm looking very forward to that, to celebrating her graduation. Gogo graduates next year, so we talked about that a little bit. I'm happy he stayed in school. It's been a struggle, so we continue to support all those special ed families out there. Big shout out to any special ed family. If you need any support, give me a call or give
Message us,
and we'll get back to you. Congratulations to the golf team. Back-to-back championships for the Lady Warriors. The boys team got fourth place. And something I noticed is that the teams that I think three of them that finished ahead of our boys team are all private schools.
Wow.
And that's interesting to me because they get to recruit.
Yeah.
So if there's a good golfer that's a freshman, they invite them. They'll pay for their tuition. You come and play golf for us. So we have to compete against that kind of process in the state, and we do very well. So a big shout out to all the sports teams this year. Socorro again did very well. I think we need to change the name to Titletown because we've won quite a few titles in the last couple of years. So big shout out to all those coaches out there and the athletes. The Armijos, Michael and Jordan, I think they both broke state records in track, in football. So I know Michael, I know Danny and Laurel, their grandparents. So I'm probably gonna leave out people, but as I remember, shout out to all you guys out there.
Yeah, well, we look forward. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to cover them in upcoming sports in the 2022-2023 year. I know I've definitely missed that this last year, but really glad to see the athletics doing such an amazing job here in Socorro High School.
Yep, we'll work hard to get them on the air. We'll probably try to get more of the candidates between now and the election in June, but after that, we'll switch over and go back to our civic leaders and try to bring them on board, and our coaches and directors of recreation. I want to talk a lot more about the rodeo grounds and where it's going. I know they have a big soccer facilities. They're hosting the 4th of July this year,
well, the rodeo grounds in Western country and Western lifestyle and history here in New Mexico are one of my favorites. So we'll have a good discussion on that one because we've got some things planned with Rio Grande Valley Radio. We're doing another Socorro Stagecoach sessions with Jackson Ranch Steakhouse. He's opened up his place there so we can do a concert. Doug Figgs is going to be doing our next concert on June 24th at 6 p.m. over there at Jackson. We'll be putting tickets up for sale shortly on that. And we've got a great Western swing artist coming through town in July. So we're going to be doing that around July 15th. And planning some other great events here around Western music, Western culture, and really would look forward to doing more events with the New Mexico High School Rodeo group out there, and the college rodeo that takes place at the rodeo grounds, and just enjoying our great rodeo grounds that we have here.
And I think the other guest we have coming up Monday, okay, is Tara Jaramillo.
Wonderful.
She's running against Ravi for the primary, so I think we got to get them both on board. Maybe we can set up a little debate forum or something.
Would love to.
Before, so
all right,
we'll work on that. Looking forward to talking to Tara, and we'll post all the dates and time about that.
Okay, well, I guess I better get ready getting the technology together over here so that we can do all this stuff that we're going to do.
We got that fancy lighting, the morning lighting that half my face is in light. And
I got to get some lights. I'll get some lights for you. We got to get a professional studio going here for video, but we will get that done. And we want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. It's been an hour with Vocal with Val, and we really appreciate you all joining us. And we look forward to continuing this program. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be another Zoom meeting with Maggie, correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Secretary of State, Maggie Toulouse-Oliver.
Just want to make sure I got that correct, and look forward to having that interview. And thank you so much for coming in today, Val. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Mayor Bhasker, for joining us this morning all the way up from Nevada, even with a couple audio things. I think most of us still heard what you were saying, and that was great.
And drive safely, Mayor. Bring that garbage truck home safely.
Hey, yeah, let us know if you need an escort. We'll get the cars out there. All right, folks, thank you. You've been listening to Rio Grande Valley Radio's Vocal with Val.